I can't afford having days of bad energy or bad feelings. I can afford a moment,
Yeah.
and that's it.
Totally.
Hey everybody, welcome to Luxe Life. I'm your host, Candice Bar, and as you can see, we're not in LA today. We're not in studio today. We're at the beautiful house of Miss Hazel Ortega. Welcome to Luxe Life.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So we're so excited for today's show. We've been wanting to interview you. And I saw you on Michael Beckwith's show, and I was like, I have to have this lady. I have to have this lady. Once I get something in my mind, it has to happen. So we're so excited to have you.
Yeah, me too. I'm here and I'm grateful to be able to share my story.
Thank you. So I know you have a great story because I did listen. And I did do my due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
And I love stories like this because, you know, you're an entrepreneur. I love female powerhouses. We're all about female entrepreneurship on this show. You're an author. You've done so many things. And so I kind of would like you to start off telling people who you are and what you do and what you're passionate about.
Yeah. Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Mm.
I'm a Latina, born and raised here in Los Angeles. I'm a mom.
Mm.
And my passion and big, hairy, audacious vision is to impact 1 billion people or more by 2032 by helping people change their mindset.
I know we were talking earlier, and there's so many different conversations that we had that were great conversation. But I want to know what got you into kind of mindset shifting, bending. I like to call it energy manipulation. How did you get into that? What happened in your life that made you go down that path?
Education is what got me started. I didn't value education growing up. My parents didn't either. We grew up in downtown LA in a really poor neighborhood. So surviving the neighborhood was what was important, not education, not thriving, not becoming successful Latinas. Like that didn't matter. What mattered was surviving the neighborhood. In the 80s, downtown LA was very
terrifying.
It was full of gang members. And so I didn't focus on education. As a matter of fact, I ditched a lot of school. And it wasn't until I became an injured worker at my job where I was hired as a secretary that I used education to change my life. Right. And so I was 26 years old at this time. And then I
still
got
young.
an education. Yeah. Late in the game, but
still young.
I got my high school diploma when I was 30 years old.
Okay.
And then I started to realize like, oh, there's so much I don't know.
Yeah.
And I started to learn how to think, which I never knew that I wasn't thinking. Like there's another way to live life, actually being aware and conscious and having information and not being reactive. So I started to learn that a little bit in school. But what I tell people is like that formal education is not what got me to live the life of my dreams. I did become a psychologist at 36 years old. And what got me to live the life of my dreams is personal development.
Yeah.
That was the breakthrough that I needed. Formal education taught me how to do a job and I was able to double my income.
Yep.
But even doubling my income didn't make me have money in the bank.
Right.
I was still bouncing checks. I was a psychologist at 36 years old and I was fist fighting my sisters. Yeah. I was a psychologist. My sister's a police officer.
Wow.
And we are fist fighting. And now our kids are fist fighting as well at the family parties. Police were getting called regularly to our parties because we were violent. We didn't know how to solve our problems. Basically, most of us solve our adult problems with strategies we learn as children.
Right.
Like withdrawing love from those we love. Right. We give silent treatment. We fight. We fist fight. Right. We criticize. We judge. We do these things that we learned as children, as adults.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work in adult life. So
Not in a positive way.
no, it doesn't. No.
No.
No, I mean, you could have the immediate result that you want,
Right.
but it's inauthentic
Right.
and it doesn't feel right.
Right.
It doesn't feel right for anybody. I used to manipulate my sisters to come over to my house. I wanted them to come here for
Mhm.
Christmas or Thanksgiving or my birthday,
Mm.
and I thought I had to manipulate them to come here,
Mm.
and they would,
Mm.
but it was a total manipulation
Yeah.
and a lot of effort. And now I don't have to do that anymore.
Mm.
And I learned a lot of strategies in personal development.
Who turned you on to personal development?
I had a boyfriend
Okay.
who told me that I wasn't loving
Okay.
and that there was this program that he recommended for me.
Hmm.
And so for me, it was like very shocking for him to say I wasn't loving because I thought, hey, I'm here. And
Right. Right.
all right, like I'm with you. What else?
Yeah. What else do you need?
Yeah. And I cared for him and I did want the relationship to thrive and go
Mm.
to another level.
Mm.
So I checked out this personal development seminar.
Mm.
And when I was complete 3 days later, I broke up with him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, wait a minute. I completely changed and the way I occurred to myself changed.
Mm.
And then I looked at him and I was like, oh, like I felt that he was not living in integrity.
Yeah.
And I called him out on that.
You're like, oh, you're actually not what I want.
Yeah. I felt so good about myself.
You're like, thank you for turning me on to this, and I need you to
100%.
go.
Yes. I was going to marry this person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then I changed and my self-esteem started to, match up to who I really am.
Yeah.
And then I looked at him and I thought that was not a match for me.
Mm.
You know,
On this show, we talk a lot about, we've interviewed a lot of really cool people, and you're definitely one of them. We talk a lot about the importance of mentors.
mm-hmm.
And so who has been, I'm sure you have had many, because I feel like, well, especially in my life, I've had different mentors through different phases of my life. Who has been one of the most impactful mentors in your life and why?
Yeah, mentors to me are one of the top 3
Yes.
things that we need, success tools
Mhm.
for us. I call them pushy angels.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
Because when they're mentoring you, sometimes you don't want to listen to what they're saying.
Yep.
Sometimes they're telling you that you shouldn't be in the relationship that you're in.
Mhm.
Maybe you should change your career. Maybe you should go back to school and do something different.
Mm.
And all things that you don't want to do because you're in your comfort zone.
Right.
But they see something in you that you can't see in yourself. Right. And mentors and coaches are really important.
Yes.
A mentor can hold a vision for you. Your
Mhm.
coach can hold a vision for you.
Mhm.
Especially for me, like as a serial entrepreneur, I can have a lot of different ideas.
Yeah.
And then a coach can be like, okay, wait a minute, let's stick with the first one.
Right.
And then when we get there, then we'll go and work on the other ones.
Right.
They bring you back to what the original, dream is. So for me, one of the persons, I have many, you can't get out of my situation that I was in growing up,
Mm.
poor on welfare and in a scarcity mentality.
Mm.
And thinking that I'm not worthy if I didn't have the people that came into my life
Yeah.
that told me that I was.
Yeah.
And so one of them that really stands out is an attorney that I started to work for. He was the first professional Latino I had ever met.
Mm.
And he was a lawyer.
Mm.
I never saw any Latinos on television that were professionals. I didn't see them in real life. If I went to the hospital, the doctors were not Latinos. Right. If I went to court, the lawyers that I saw were not Latinos.
Yeah.
And he was the first one that I saw. And when he interviewed me, I was 24 years old. And he asked me, "You're in college, right?" And I was not in college. I didn't even have a high school diploma. And by this time I was married and I had 3 kids.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But I told him, yes, I was in college. Like my dad always said, fake it till you make it. My dad spent 20 years in jail.
Wow.
Yeah. My entire childhood in and out of jail for drug-related crimes. And even though that was his life, he still had a lot of good advice.
Yeah.
He's
like,
take my advice. I'm not using it, And I did. And I grew up with these sayings, like fake it till you make it. And I do. And I still tell people that, Some people don't like that phrase, but it's absolutely can be a success tool as well.
I do believe in that phrase. And I also say like, but you do fake it till you make it, but then the next step is you actually have to make it. You can't be faking it your whole life. Like we got to take steps toward the thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. What I mean is like somebody invited me to lunch.
Yeah.
And the table was full of LA elites, right?
Okay.
One of them being the mayor of Los Angeles. And when I walked in, I felt like, why am I invited to this table? This is like 15 years ago. And like the imposter syndrome started coming in, right? And so I walked in and then I turned around and I was walking out. And then I remembered that the most uncomfortable people are the most successful.
Yes.
So I was feeling uncomfortable. So I might actually need to stay.
Yeah.
I turned back around and I sat there and I faked it like I was, also one of the elites, right? And so then I survived that lunch.
Yeah.
And what ended up happening, when I saw that I survived that lunch, it built self-esteem in me.
Totally.
Like I could be at a table with people like that.
Also, like you're invited for a reason.
Yeah.
And they're also faking it too. Just because someone holds a title or position doesn't mean they're comfortable in that title or position.
That is very true. I didn't notice that about anybody else, but you're right. I think
some people are just, I always say, I think everyone's just acting. Some people are just better actors than others.
Yeah, that could be true for the majority. And sometimes you are in your element,
yes,
you're in your zone, your power.
Yes.
Yeah. And it has nothing to do with status, money, anything like that, to be in your power,
And you can see it. Like when someone's in their power, you can see, you can sense it, you can smell it. And it's so attractive because we just don't have enough of it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to point on something. I've said it in the show before, but criminals and entrepreneurs, their mind is very similar. The product is different. The mind is very similar.
Well, I mean, I think criminal mentality, and I did grow up with a lot of that. We have in my family a legacy of incarceration.
Oh wow.
So I have my dad was a heroin addict all his life, in and out of prison. And he was, to me, one of the smartest people that I knew.
Yeah.
He would read a lot of books on crime. He knew. He was always trying to figure something out, trying to figure out how to get away with something and how to make it. And then my dad's two brothers also were heroin addicts. As a matter of fact, both of them had drug overdoses when I was a teenager. And I had to translate to my grandmother at the hospital that her son's never going to wake up. Like really hard stuff like that, growing up. My mom also was in prison. I think in my interview, I mentioned that my mom killed her boyfriend and she was a fugitive for 5 years.
Wow.
So in that criminal, mentality, yeah, you're trying to survive and get away at all times, and it takes something.
I know. I want to ask you, with all this going on, it's just, a lot of chaos happening growing up. And with all this going on, did you have something inside of you? You may not have known what it was exactly or the path. It's very rare we know the path. I think it's sometimes better that we don't know the path. Did you ever think like, I don't know what it is, but I know there's something better for me. There's something inside me that there's something better for me.
Yeah, definitely. I knew that I didn't want to live the life that I grew up in.
Yeah.
I didn't want to have my mom's life.
Yeah.
The struggle. I knew that. And so I worked hard for that. And then I used education as my vehicle to ensure that I was never going to go into poverty again. 60% of people that grow up in poverty stay in poverty.
Yeah.
And I knew that I didn't want to have that. And I had a very clear fear of being back in poverty, especially after my injury at work. I thought, oh, wow, the little bit that I've accumulated, I'm going to lose it all. And then I used all of my fear and turned it into intention.
Yeah.
Fuel. And I went to school and I didn't stop. And it was really hard. I worked from 9 to 5 as a secretary. And I went to school in the evenings from 7 to 10. And then I went to school for weekend college from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday and 10 to 2 p.m. on Sundays. Yeah. And I did that so that I could hurry up and get a degree and then take care of my family and ensure that I was never going to be in poverty again. But you know what? Poverty mentality now I know this because I know a lot of wealthy people. Wealthy people have poverty mentalities also.
That's my next question I was going to ask you.
It doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank.
I know some of those people, and sometimes I'm thinking, I'm like, what are you even saying or talking about? Because your words are powerful. And I'm like, they're in positions like it's not even a reality at any point, but they're terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified. And I was going to ask you because, coming from that, having that mentality, even nowadays, does it sometimes still come up for you, like a little bit of fear or anything like that? Or have you completely disassociated yourself from any of that thought process?
No, I definitely have some of that residual thoughts.
Mm.
However, I know better.
Yeah.
So I stop myself and I don't allow it.
You're like, I don't own this. This is not mine anymore.
Exactly. And so I'm really conscious of myself, my thoughts, my words, my actions, and I correct right away. So I don't allow myself to stay in any space that's inauthentic.
Yes.
Right. And so how you can check is that if something feels heavy, it's not the truth. Truth is light. And so whenever I think like maybe my sisters don't love me, how does that feel in my body? It feels heavy because they do love me. And then when I think they love me, then that feels light. Yeah. And so I practice that a lot when I get confronted with old patterns. I'm not sure if it's ever, going to go away.
But you have tools to deal with it better.
Yeah, and I get off it quicker. Where before it would be a sensation that might last a day or days. Now it's a second.
She's still a coach. She's great. Gloria Mayfield Banks. And I think she was the top producer in Mary Kay ever. And she would say, I can't afford having days of bad energy or bad feelings. I can afford a moment. Yeah. A moment. And that's it.
Totally. I tell my friends that fight with their sisters or their kids or anybody actually to make up, because nothing gets your success stuck like having these bad relationships.
Absolutely.
These histories with people. You have to, even if you have to eat crow and you think that you're wrong, do it for your own success. Do it for your own self,
and you might be right. You're probably right. Let's pretend you are right, but just keep it going. Yeah. Keep the energy going. Is there a mantra or is there a morning ritual or something that you do to get yourself out of negative thoughts, negative energy, just to keep yourself moving?
At this point, I feel like I embody gratitude. And so I do recommend for everybody to start off with a gratitude practice. Yeah. I used to, on this journey, I used to start my day by thanking God that I was not in a drive-by, shooting incident, and that I didn't live in that gang-infested neighborhood anymore, and that my parents were safe, and that my kids were safe. I used to start the day off like that. Now I'm in gratitude about who I'm being and what the future is. Like I already have it. Yeah. And I ask God to continue to bless me so that I can bless other people and for me to do his work. Like that's how I feel like we're all here to help each other out. Like that's our purpose. Yeah. That I feel very strong about that.
I asked someone recently, and I'm going to ask you as well. Do you feel, because it was a thought that came up and I was like, thinking to myself, trying to answer it to myself. Do you feel or do you think that we are all responsible in some way for each other?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I think when we're stuck in the scarcity and in drama and the day-to-day of life and complaining, you are very focused on yourself. But once you get your shit together, once your life works, you're going to realize that now is time to help others.
I agree with that because, if you think about people, everyone knows someone who has depression or anxiety or whatever word they want to place on those things. And they're only really like that because they're focusing on themselves.
100%. So I'm a psychologist, and we specialize in helping people that have lost their job due to an injury. And when we get them on the phone, we immediately start talking about the future. and get their mind off of their body, off of
Mm.
their injury, and off of themselves and into like education.
Yes.
Like what about school and getting a certificate and talking about something else other than themselves. We want them to be in school because then they're focusing on something else,
Yeah.
right? Rather than themselves. But the minute that we start asking them tell me about your injury, they're in tears and they're in pain. It actually will cause them more pain.
You're focusing on the thing.
Yeah. So don't talk about it too much. If you're having, a personal crisis in your own life, don't just at hello start talking about your problems to somebody, because it becomes a even bigger.
Yes.
Get the help that you need to get.
Yeah.
And then shorten the time that you're talking about it, and you'll get better.
I love that. Great tip. I want to ask you, so, as life went on, and I know there's a lot of story in between everything for sure, but as life went on and things started getting better and better for you, was there a point in time that you took a moment and was like, you know what, I'm really proud of myself?
Most definitely.
What
That's
was
the
that
best
point?
feeling. Yes. I've had more and more moments like that. But when I celebrated 10 years of being in business and helping over 40,000 people return to school,
Wow,
and get new jobs after an injury, like realizing that I'm making an impact and making a difference, that made me very proud of myself. Realizing that I can manifest anything that I want makes me believe that I'm a badass.
Yeah.
And so is everybody else.
Yeah.
We have so much power.
Lots of power.
Yeah. And I can't shut up about it. Which is probably why I'm on your show.
Don't shut up about it. We want to hear it.
And so, you were talking about, do I feel like we are, destined to help other people? It makes a lot of sense to me that we are, because I wake up in the morning excited about helping other people.
Yeah.
And I can't stop. Like, people ask me, why are you so good at manifesting? Well, because I'm always talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. It's my life.
Yes.
It's who I'm being all the time. Last night I had a conversation with my friend, and we were talking about manifesting. As soon as I saw her, like within 5 minutes, we were having a conversation about how I manifested something almost instantly.
Yes.
And something that was really big and really hard, it seemed. And then I transformed it and manifested the outcome.
We make it so difficult. Why we make it so difficult, and it's so easy.
It is easy.
Why do we do this? We almost like make it challenging because we want the challenge.
Yeah. Yes. Insanity.
Or we believe it's difficult. So then it does become difficult.
Yeah, well, that's what we've been told.
Yeah.
Right? That life is hard, and you got to work really hard, right? These are lies that we grew up hearing over and over again. Another thing is that we grow up speaking into a no. All the no's that you've ever heard in your life, 90% of them were told to you when you were a child. Okay. And it's like a no, don't jump on the sofa. And it's like, why not? It's the most fun.
Right.
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 And then it's like, you just don't know why not. And then it's just a no. Then you're like, well, everything that's fun and good is a no. And you grow up speaking into a no. It's already a no for you.
And start chipping away at you.
Yeah. And you're just no. So now I transform my mindset about that. And I live in a world of yes.
Yes. And not and or. You can have it all. And. Yes.
Right. Another thing. Yeah. We're told that you can have it all, just not all at the same time. Right. And so I've heard that so much. And then now I'm like, oh, wait a minute. That's a lie. You can have it all.
Oh, that's wrong too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all of these quotes that we grow up listening to and living like that's the truth.
Yeah.
Another one is like a leopard can't change its spots. That means that people can't change.
Yeah.
That means that you can't change.
Yeah.
And you absolutely can change.
1,000,000%.
Yeah. And so I believe in transformation. I transform my own life from bouncing checks, fist fighting with my sisters, divorced and broken relationships, to having the life of my dreams, having, abundance in my bank account, having the love of my life, and getting along with my sisters like we're in heaven. Like that is what I wanted. And that's what transformed my life.
I do want to ask you, you bring up your family a lot, like your sisters and family and all that, which is great. But I want it from where you were to where you are now is night and day.
Yeah.
And are they proud of you? Have they vocalized they're proud of you, or do they understand? Some people, when it's not them, even if it's a family member, if it's not them, they don't understand really what it took, even though they're kind of on that journey a little bit with you. Um, what are their thoughts on everything that you've created?
Yeah, first I wanted to tell you, well, of course I talk about family a lot. I'm Latina.
You're right.
We're very close.
That I do know. That I do know.
You know what? I've been traveling all over the world, and I realize like everybody is about family. First and foremost, that's the family that God gave us. Yes, they're very proud of me. I'll tell you though that I did struggle a lot with them, because for me, I was blind to how they felt about me, because I was growing up always not being good enough, and thinking that they didn't love me, and that they could leave me, and that all of that of their acceptance and all of their love I was blind to it. I couldn't see it.
Believing Before Seeing, a new bestseller by Candice Bar. Order your copy today.
And going off of what I love what you just said, and like we're such magical beings, we really are, and it was covered up with a lot of different fluff and stuff, but it's there and it doesn't go away.
Yeah, everybody. I don't think I'm in the position that I'm in because I've been exposed to things and I know things, right? Where before it was like a world that was not I had no access to.
Yeah,
I was 36 years old and living life like just like Groundhog Day.
Yeah,
like every day was gonna look like the day before.
totally.
And there was no reason why it would look any different.
Yeah,
until one day somebody asked me, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?"
you're like,
I'm like, what kind of question is that? 5 years? Why? I'm only thinking about tomorrow.
right.
Lady, I'm trying to get to tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean? And she was like, no, think about it. In 5 years, where are you going to be? And then I was, very realistic in saying, well, I'll just be 5 years older, and everything in life is going to be more expensive, right? More of this suck. More of that.
Yes.
And she said, you know what? Why don't you think about it? Sit down for 10 minutes and think about it, and I'll be back. Yeah. And I think that was the first time that I ever had a moment to think that was about the future versus the past.
Yeah.
Right. And so then the past is like everything all fear based, right? All heartbreaks, all scarcity mentality. Yeah. And it was like, okay, the future, what could happen in the future?
Yeah.
And I was still very cynical about it. And then in the last 2 minutes of those 10 minutes, I got frustrated and I got this epiphany where it was like, well, if you believe in God and you believe in miracles, what is possible for you? And everything opened up, this world that was unrecognizable to me. And I said, well, I do believe in miracles. And if I believe in miracles, then I'm going to live in a mansion.
Yeah.
And I envisioned this very house. Wow. And I drew it.
Wow.
This house that I live in right now, where you're sitting in. And before you leave, I'm going to show you the frame where
I want to see it.
I drew my vision.
Wow.
Yeah. And I also created that I was going to get along with my sisters like we were in heaven. Right. And so I was not getting along with my sisters my entire life. I mean, I grew up with not having enough, where we used to fight over clothes.
Yeah.
We used to fight over food. We used to fight over my mom's attention. I mean, there was 7 of us.
Fighting for everything.
Yeah, everything. And boyfriends and, friends, anything. And we had no reason. We'd make up a reason to fight. And that's just our MO, right? And so I created that I was getting along with them and that I had enough money in the bank that I could live the life of my dreams. Yeah. And that my life looked like I was always on vacation and that I would fly in private jets. Right. And I created that. And then when I saw that, I created it, I drew it. And when I saw that vision, I wanted it. Yeah. I never wanted it before because I thought it was not available to me.
Not attainable. It's not for you.
No, it was like on the other side of a veil, and I had no access to it and I didn't even know it. It's like this, like what they say is the glass ceiling. Yeah. Like what glass ceiling are they talking about? And then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, there is a glass ceiling. Yeah. I'm putting it on myself. Yes. Nobody's putting it on me. Yes. Yes, it is conditioned, our society puts it on us, our family puts it on us, our culture puts it on us, but ultimately it's our accountability, right?
Also, yeah, and like who doesn't put it on us? God doesn't put it on us. Universe doesn't put it on us. Like the thing that matters.
Yeah. Nobody says no to us.
No,
we're the ones that say no to us. We're the ones that say we can't have that upgrade on the plane.
It feels so much better saying yes than just saying no. So do the thing that feels good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I wanted to ask you too, so your daughters, you're raising your children when you were also going through this transformation too.
Yeah.
And I wanted to hear what they thought about, if they've expressed to you, you during that transformation and the outcome of all that, because you decided to make different choices.
Oh, yes. Well, my kids are grown.
Mm.
I mean, not to say that you don't still,
Right.
raise them.
Right.
My kids now are 25, 28, and 30.
Okay.
Okay. And so my daughter was 8 years old, the youngest, when I became a psychologist. At 8 years old and 10 and 12, the other two, I stopped spanking them. I used to spank them and I thought that that was okay.
Right.
That was the way I grew up, and I was just doing what was done to me, and I didn't think anything wrong with it.
Right.
And it didn't give me the result that I wanted. The kids still misbehaved, hitting them didn't make them stop behaving that way. And when I became a psychologist, I learned techniques. I'm a behavior modification specialist. And then I learned how to speak to them, to inspire them to behave properly, versus having them behave properly because they're afraid of me because I'm going to hit them.
Right.
Right. Which now is illegal.
Spanking's legal?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't spank a 10-year-old. You could spank a 2-year-old. You can not spank a 10-year-old.
Oh, okay.
No, that's illegal. Yeah. And you shouldn't. It doesn't change behavior.
Right.
It only makes your life more miserable.
Right.
And so what changes behavior is dealing with, let's just say they don't clean their room. Spanking them for not cleaning their room, or telling them they can't go to a baseball game because they didn't clean their room, doesn't change the behavior. It doesn't fit the punishment, doesn't fit the crime.
Right.
So what you need to do to change behavior is double their chore. Okay. Because what they don't want to do is their chore. And if you're going to double it, then next time they're going to be like, oh, I don't want to do double.
I don't want to do 2 rooms. I'll just do my room.
Exactly. So it's like, you know what? You didn't do your chore, cleaning your room. Now, not only are you going to clean your room, but you're going to clean the bathroom.
Yeah.
Or you're going to sweep the garage.
Yeah.
That is what changes behavior.
Yes.
And then next time you don't have problems with kids not wanting to do their chore, and it's easy. But most people don't know those tools to use.
Well, it goes back to saying what you said. They don't know what they don't know.
Exactly. Like I didn't know that either.
Right.
But I came to the point where my kids thought I knew magic. Yeah. One of them came up to me and was like, can I ask you a question? And I'm like, yes. And he's like, do you know magic? And I was perplexed. And I said, why do you ask me that? And he said, why are we always doing everything you want us to do, even though we know we don't want to do it? And I was in my mind like, I am so busted here. And then I turned around and I said, because you're good kids. That's why. Which, I'm again, reinforcing positive behavior.
Yep.
And I learned that in school. And really, honestly, I thought like, wow, so many parents suffer because they don't know this tool.
Yeah.
It's out there. It's available. People just don't know.
Well, it's similar to, positive thinking or, manifestations or mindsets. It's out there. There's a million books on it. There's a million podcasts on it. It's all out there. But what are you deciding to subscribe to?
Yeah, I do recommend for people to continue to listen to podcasts,
yes,
watch interviews. That's what I did when I got started. I was showing up to seminars. I was reading all the books. I mean, I read The 4 Agreements, The Mastery of Love. I got so much aha moments out of those.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't transform my life in that moment, but continuing to do it.
Yes.
Even to this day and to the day I die, I'm going to continue to just chip away at the masterpiece of who I am.
Totally.
Right. And, like the artist that said that Michelangelo said, right, that David was inside the stone. Like we are that. We're inside a stone. Yeah. Right. And when you have aha moments, it's like a piece of the stone falls off.
Yes.
And you can see the beautiful person that's underneath. And so that's what I do all the time. I go to meditation retreats now. I continue to do personal development. I read, I watch podcasts. I talk to people that I admire. And that's how I get to, see myself.
I love that. It's like, I don't know. It's going at it as, I don't know who I'm becoming and I don't know who this is, but I'm running toward whatever that is.
Yeah. Yeah. You're running towards it, but it is inside.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And like unfolding and letting it come out.
Marianne Williamson has a book called Return to Love. And what it is we were born 100% love.
Yes.
And then this stone started growing over us, right? And then we became numb to love. And so once you start working on yourself and you start taking off layers, you know, layers, so many people are out there numb.
Yeah.
I was numb too. People were dying all around me and I couldn't cry for them. I was not in touch with my feelings.
Right.
I didn't start crying until I was in my 40s.
Wow.
Yeah. In my 40s.
Wow.
You know, I grew up, my mom telling me, if you're going to cry for something, like because something hurts, literally, like you broke an arm, but don't cry because of feelings, you know? And so I grew up thinking that crying was a sign of weakness, you know? And then I would see people cry and I, you know, think that they were being weak. When I saw them crying, I'd be like, what's wrong with them? You know,
it goes back to the conditioning also, like you were saying, or like it's back to survival mode.
Totally survival mode. And it does feel like a clear and present danger, like you are going to die, even though there's no lion after you, no bears after you. It does feel like being vulnerable is a death.
Yeah.
And it is a death of your identity, right? It's the most beautiful thing to cry now.
Yes.
I can cry at any moment. And
I was going to ask
feel...
you, like when you started, you know, lifting toxic, negative things out of you, off of you, and showing vulnerability, did you start crying a lot more? It was just like waterworks for a while?
Yeah,
because
totally.
you're letting it go.
Totally. There was a moment where I cried with nonstop, like all these tears came out, and I was mourning like the nearly 40 years of being judgmental, critical, and keeping people far away. Even my own daughter, like the love that I could give her was very stunted because I was numb.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't experience all those feelings that I feel like a mom should experience because I had all these walls up. So I cried for all that loss. And then now from that moment forward, I'm present to love all the time.
Yeah.
I'm creating love all the time.
Yeah.
There's a book called How to Make Love Every Day. And I told you I read a lot of books.
Who writes it? Do you know?
No, okay. I don't know, but it's really good. And it's not about sex.
Okay.
It's about like, if I hand you a glass of water, I'm making love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if I reach out and touch my daughter, her arm, that's making love, like, and we can be very conscious of that and do that all day long. And the person that feels it the most is,
absolutely
me.
Yes.
Yeah. And it makes a difference for me, and it makes me be successful and makes me feel happy. My birthday was just recently, and I told
happy birthday.
Thank you. I told my partner that I felt so happy, so fulfilled, not to say that I'm not going to strive and want more things for myself,
right?
But for the moment, everything was just so perfect.
It's
and
all
I'm
good.
Such in gratitude about it, and the best is yet to come still.
Yeah.
And that's really exciting about the future.
Do you ever, because it's a beautiful house, do you ever go on the balcony or the patio and just sit for a moment and be like, I created this?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah. When I bought this house, the real estate agent told me, wow, imagine the people that come here are going to be very impressed by your house. And I was like, I don't care about who comes here. This is about
I'm
me.
Impressed. Yes.
Me. I'm impressed.
Yes.
When you walk through this house, it has amazing views, especially at night, all the lights of the city. And I can see Disneyland fireworks here every evening.
Very nice.
At 9:30 without fail.
Yes.
And it never ceases to amaze me. No, I'm always looking at God's gift. I mean, the sunset here, there's not a day that the sunset looks like the day before. It's majestic every single day. Yeah. And I love that I get to share that with people that come to the house. And I have a lot of parties here. We have a lot of fun here, and we enjoy the house. Yeah, I'm very grateful. I'm not taking any of this for granted.
I want to talk with you. You brought something up, and I love talking about this with entrepreneurs. The importance of happiness and having fun. Because we can get into the grind, and it can get serious. But having fun with things makes things so much lighter. It moves faster. It moves the energy. And especially American hustle culture.
Yeah.
We forget to have fun.
Yeah. Actually, I did the hustle, right? For 10 years, I hustled, I worked, and then I networked, and then I went to business mastery classes and seminars all about the hustle. And now I wish I had known sooner that we can create any type of business that we want and any success that we want.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be the hustle.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be that energy of
Mm-hmm.
busyness all the time, of being on the phone all the time to make things happen.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that you get to say what your life looks like,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so now I create that I have businesses with friends and that it doesn't cost me a dime and that I don't work. Right. And we're making impact in the world.
Yeah.
So I created that. And now the last few businesses that I started have been exactly that.
Beautiful.
With not just my friends, but my very best friends. And it doesn't cost me a dime. The businesses that we've created have a demand already where the institutions that want our product are paying for the creation of our product.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So some people believe that you need to have money to start businesses. I started my first business from my garage of my home.
Yeah.
And in the Latino culture, we have this thing called like godmothers and godfathers for whenever we have a party, we pull money from all family members and we have somebody that would be the sponsor of the shoes.
Okay.
Somebody would sponsor the dress.
Okay.
Somebody's a sponsor for the food. So I use this method.
I know about this because my friend who's Latina, I sponsored her something for her. I know about this.
Everything is sponsored. The church is sponsored, right? The makeup and hair is a sponsor.
Yeah.
So we're really the kings in this space, right? So when I started my business in my garage, I asked somebody to help me to put drywall in my garage. I asked somebody else to put carpet. I asked somebody else to give us the desks. So they gave us 2 desks and 2 chairs. Somebody else gave me 2 computers. Somebody else gave me 2 phones.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got
it's a community effort.
Exactly, the community. And then I asked my friends and family to give me business. I did. I asked. Most people don't ask.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one of the biggest things that when I was struggling, I never asked for help because I also saw that it was a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
Right. You know, when I wrote my book, my best friends reached out to me and they said, I didn't know that you were going through all that. Why didn't you ask for help? And I was like, it didn't occur to me that somebody could help me.
Yeah.
I just thought that I had to be the one to endure it.
Right.
You know, we've also been very conditioned that if it's to be, it's up to me.
Yeah.
That's very individualistic, right? And so if I got myself in this mess, I got to get myself out of this mess. Right. It never occurred to me to ask for help.
Yeah.
And now that I'm successful, trust me, I'm successful because people are helping me. I'm not doing anything by myself.
I always say entrepreneurs, especially if they're successful entrepreneurs, we may have been the visionary. We were the ones to do the things of the thing, but you never did it alone. You have a team. You have a team.
Totally. I have a great team. Always. I always have coaches in my life.
Yep.
And I have friends and I ask for help and people ask me for help.
Yeah.
People ask me for money. People ask me for money for investing, for borrowing, for gifting, fundraising. They ask. When I was broke, and I needed all these things. Yeah. I never asked anybody. And all the people that were broke as well never asked me for anything.
Right.
Yeah. And so that keeps you also broke. And I changed all of that for myself. And that's how I'm able to grow and leverage my connections, you know, and I ask. So everybody out there needs to be asking. Ask for help.
Well, I like having that conversation too, because actually in my book, I reference this. There's a really great coach. His name is David Nagel. And he does to get people over money blocks. I love talking about money blocks, money issues, things like that. To get people over money blocks, he does a program. And in the program, you have to take out $1,000 from your bank account, whether you have it or not. You have to get $1,000 in $100 bills. And in one day, in 4 hours, you need to give away $100 to a complete and total stranger that did absolutely nothing for you. And it's I love social experiments because it's a very interesting social experiment on both ends. The person giving it, some people couldn't get through the program because they just couldn't give out free money. They couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Some people couldn't receive it. They just would not take the money.
That's another problem too.
And I think I love this thing. I've done it. I do it all the time. Since I've heard about this, I do it all the time. I just give out because the flow of money is necessary. Even it's more important when you're uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, yeah, it's a one of the laws of abundance,
Totally.
law of success is to give money away. I started a nonprofit
Mm.
because somebody approached me about a project in Africa, and my friend was stuck. And she said, I told this man that I would help him.
Mm.
He's a former child soldier
Mm.
in Uganda.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, there's a whole world there of
Yeah.
that, of parents killed, rape, you know, and he was taken when he was 9 years old,
Mm.
never saw his parents,
Mm.
grandparents, or sisters again.
Mm.
And he started a school, right? He escaped, and then somebody ended up fostering him
Mm.
in Uganda, an American family, sent money so he can get an education. He did, became an accountant, and then he started a school for the
Wow.
kids in the area where he was abducted.
Wow.
And now he has a school that had 400 kids, and said he wanted to add another 400, but was missing a medical center. The law didn't allow him to continue building until he had a medical center in case of an emergency.
Okay.
And she promised to help him, and then she didn't. And she's just telling me this. She's not asking me. She's just telling me this. And then I told her, why haven't you asked me for help?
Mm.
And she's like, I never even thought about it.
Mm.
And I'm like,
Mm.
and she said, would you like to help? And I said, yes. And I belong to a strong group of entrepreneurs,
Mm.
an organization where people like to help. So I went there and I posted and I said, this is what's the situation. And I just donated $10,000.
Yeah.
If anybody else wants to, it takes $20,000.
Yeah.
And people started sending me thousands of dollars.
Yeah. Just ask.
Just ask.
Yes.
And then they were asking me, do you have a tax write-off form
Mhm.
for this? I'd like to send you more. And so I started the nonprofit because
Yeah.
of that, because I think people want to help. The only reason they don't is because they don't know what you need.
Yes.
They don't get asked. And so I started this organization. And in 2 years, we've been able not to just build the medical center, but we brought running water for the first time to that school in that area. We brought telehealth and teletherapy to that area. Yeah, it's been remarkable, all the things. We've been able to spread a self-esteem and mindset program for the poorest kids in the world. In Guatemala, Los Angeles, Colombia, Mexico, now I'm the one asking, who needs help?
Right.
I have this program and I'm giving it away for free.
Right.
And somebody gave it away for free to me because I asked for a free program that I can give away to other people. And it happened.
Just ask.
Just
open your mouth and ask.
Yeah.
So we are in 2023, almost in 2024, which I can't believe.
I know.
I can't believe it. This year flew by. Crazy.
Yes. Oh, and I have a prediction for 2024.
I want to hear it.
It's going to be the best year yet.
I agree with you.
For you, for
I
me,
agree with you.
and for everybody.
Yes, I'm completely serious. I've been telling people this. I'm like, this is going to be your best year ever. And I'm not BSing. I believe it. Like 2024 is a powerful year. It's the year, like everything that everyone has worked for. I feel like everything is just going to explode in the best way possible.
Yeah. Yeah. We have
I believe
AI is here.
Totally.
And all these things are available to make our lives better.
Yes.
Are here. So even if you don't believe it, fake it.
It's coming. It's coming for you.
Act as if 2024 is your best year.
I'm telling you, it really is. And as we were saying earlier, it's been my experience so far going into 2024, like the right people are coming together and the right people are having these bigger conversations about things. And it's kind of just moving forward in a very positive way. And so I'm excited to see what's going to be unfolding because I can feel it.
Yeah, for sure. And, act as if, be conscious of 2024 is the best year. What does that mean for your lifestyle?
Yeah.
What does that mean for your relationships? What does it look like for your bank account?
Right.
To have the best year yet.
Yes.
Like start to see that in your mind and then you live into that. Yep. That is the secret number one to success.
Get into the feeling of the thing. Get into the feeling of the thing.
Yeah.
You'll accelerate.
Yeah. And, I know, I say that the first thing is creating a vision is most important, right? That changed my life. Of course, education, but what really transformed my life was creating a vision. And then secondly, your environment,
Yeah.
So in your environment, if you believe that 2024 is going to be the best, then you have to clean up your environment. Right. Take a look. Environment includes people, includes, your furniture, what are you putting up with? Is your curtain crooked? Do you hate your sofa? Like be impeccable.
Yes.
Don't be around things that you hate.
Yes, I always say I love beautiful things. I love beautiful things
Yes.
around me.
Oh, I always make a list of things that I want around me, and
Mm.
I have miracle goals, and I say I want to be always surrounded by luxury and abundance.
Yes.
And that's what shows up.
Yes.
Luxury and abundance.
Yes. I'm with you.
The minute that I declared that, I didn't exactly say what it looks like to have luxury and abundance, because I want to be pleasantly surprised.
Yes.
And usually you get better than what you could imagine.
Yes, totally.
Soon after that, I got invited to go to the Pritzker estate to share
that?
my story. The Hyatt Hotel family.
Okay.
They own this. It's one of the largest homes in California.
Okay.
It's in Beverly Hills. It's 55,000 square feet. Okay.
Mm.
They invited me to come and speak to a very small group of 20 elites from LA. And I'm there and I can't even believe it. Like right after I said luxury and abundance, I get invited to the highest level of luxury and abundance that I have experienced.
Yes.
And now it's been like even topping that, right? I just came from Necker Island, from being at Sir Richard Branson's, island and his estate. So just keep on having your own vision of what you want, and then up level it always.
Yes.
And it'll show up.
I know we have a few more minutes. I know you have a book.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk about the book really quickly. And so from bounce checks to private jets. And I like the title because it's very clear on what the book's about. When did you write this, and what do you hope people get out of this book?
I wrote this book 5 years ago. And I wrote it because so many people were asking me, how did I do this?
Yeah.
How did I transform my life? Right. And so I now I just tell people, read my book. You know? What I want people to get out of it is become present to the sob stories that you're telling yourself, right? Snap out of it. Even if your life is good, it can be great.
Totally.
You don't settle for good. So many of us are settling in our lives. We settle for relationships. We settle in our finances, our lifestyle, and we don't have to.
Yeah.
And that's what the book is about. It has about 15 lessons that I observed, kept me in my misery, and then what transformed it and got me out of my misery. And I don't hold back. I share a lot of stories, and it's very few people that have told me that they got through it without crying. Most people will cry, and no matter who you are and what situation you're in, I think you can relate to my story.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend. I think it's one of the best books out there. People write to me from all over the world telling me how much my book transformed their lives, and they were able to create a vision that was different from what they currently had.
I love that. And so going into 2024, what can we expect to see from you that we haven't seen before?
Oh, from me, more of me. More.
We got to see more of you. We got to see more of you.
Yeah. So I was invited to be on a reality show, and that should be filming the first quarter of the year.
Okay.
So you'll see me there. My nonprofit, we are not only helping the school in Uganda become, a great institution for the kids there, but we want it to be an example and be able to be replicated throughout Africa. So we're gonna have that project, the project one, done this year.
Okay.
And personally, I think I'm gonna end the year looking better, younger.
Always a good thing. Always a good thing.
I always say that I want to look at least 20 years younger than my age.
It's always a good thing.
And 20 pounds lighter. Always.
I do want to ask you this. I ask everyone this. I want to ask you this one thing. Is there a certain quote or scripture or something that you keep in the forefront of your mind that when you're not always having the greatest day, you remember this thing and it helps you keep going in a positive way?
People have this misconception that everything is going great for me, right? Like, nothing bad ever happens. Like, it's so incredible.
Right.
Nothing bad ever happens for you, Hazel. And I say, actually, things do happen. I'm human. It's just how I react to things.
Yeah.
And I choose to focus on what's working.
Yeah.
There are breakdowns around me. I don't break down, but around me there are breakdowns. And, there's things in the world that impact me.
Yeah.
We have a lot of, war happening.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff happening in the world. What I do and what I recommend is just focus on what's working.
Yeah.
All is well.
Yeah.
Have a mantra of all is well.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is happening in the moment, but as a context for living, all is well.
Yeah. And this too shall pass.
This too shall pass. I love that one. I love that one, especially for people with teenage kids.
Listen up.
You think, as a parent, when your kids are misbehaving and being naughty, and sometimes we're the subject of their naughtiness, they feel they're so confused with their hormones and they're so unhappy, right? Their bodies look like they're adults, but then they're still children.
Yes.
And you have to manage them. And they think that you're the one keeping them from living the life of their dreams,
right,
of doing whatever they want to do.
Right.
And so you stopping them from that, they direct all of their unhappiness towards you. And it feels like they're going to hate you forever. And so you could feel really bad about yourself, But what I said when I give counseling to parents was every parent should have in their kitchen the words written, this too shall pass, because it does. And then you have beautiful relationship with your kids after that, right?
Great point.
It's the truth. My kids are now 25, 28 and 30.
Yeah.
And we're now in a place where I enjoy them again the way I did when they were, from 0 to 8.
Yes. Yeah.
Like 8 to 19 is really pretty
rough.
bad. Yeah. Yeah. But this too shall pass.
Yes.
Just hang in there and don't react. Don't make the situations worse.
Yeah.
Let them be who they are, and they can do no other. When they're being naughty, they can do no other. That's who they are. Look up teenager in a dictionary and you'll see all of the behaviors. Yes. If you happen to have a very nice, polite, thoughtful teenager, consider yourself very lucky. And if you don't, consider yourself very lucky as well.
Yeah. Excellent. I love that. How can people find you?
I am on Instagram and I'd love to have you follow me. I check my messages. People contact me all the time. Hazel Ortega Official. And I also have a free vision exercise that I give away. And
beautiful.
If you allow me, I'd like to share that.
Absolutely.
If you go to the website, themasteryofmiracles.com, there's a 4-minute vision exercise, the exact one that somebody gave me that changed my life.
I love that.
Yeah, it's free. It has a downloadable worksheet where you can fill in the answers of what you envisioned for yourself. And then you can draw it. Yeah.
I love that.
And I want you to do it too.
I actually am going to do that. That sounds amazing. And you must check Hazel out. Please follow her, reach out to her. Get her book, get into what she's doing, because you're going to see her a lot more in 2024. So thank you again for having us.
Thank you, Candice.
Thank you, everyone, for listening and watching. And we will see you all again next week. Bye, everybody.